Hi everyone, I'm Jamie,
And I'm Fuchsia.
and we are
That thing.
called
Building
Inclusion!
inclusion.
We will have that down to a T one day, or a theme song to do it for us.
We never
But
will.
no, we never will. Somebody fund us for that, or sing it for us.
Please.
Please. So this week we are doing an episode which is called Accessing an Accessible Employer. And what we're going to talk about in this episode is our, of course, personal journeys with accessing an employer who's been able to support us and our disability, but as well as that, providing hints and tips on what you should be looking out for as a disabled person entering employment. And of course, if you're an employer or somebody with non-disability, then this is an opportunity for you to become a little bit more aware and hopefully try to bridge those gaps that we've been facing. So don't forget, before we get in any further, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe in our podcast platforms. We are on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle there is @thatinclusion. And actually, that's the same on Instagram too. So exciting times. So Fuchsia, we are talking today about finding an employer who's inclusive to you.
Yes.
What, if you're in your experience, obviously I'm not going to say, have you faced this, because I'll be a stupid question.
We've all faced it, haven't we? We've all faced it.
So if you are unemployed and you're looking for work, what is the first thing that you do, Fuchsia, when you're looking for an employer?
For me, I actually look up the company. Now, obviously, in this day and age, it's a lot easier. Every company's online. They've all got a digital footprint. When I was younger, before the internet really took off, it was harder to find if someone was inclusive. It was absolutely almost impossible. But these days, if I'm looking, I go onto the company website. I see if they've got any certificate. I cannot say that word. Certification. Whether they are disability confident, whether they're part of the Disability Business Forum, whether they're part of the Valuable 500, and so on and so forth. But it is sort of difficult to find that information if you're not 100% sure where to look for it. Exactly. What about you, Jamie? What do you do?
I do the same, to be honest with you. I think that when we look at an employer, everyone's like, this is a great place to work, but that's all well and good if you don't have a disability. So what about me as a disabled person? So what I try to do is go online, again, look at the website. Hopefully the website has an accessibility toolbar. If not, and you can't access that website, you're not accessible. Next, let's do not pass go, do not back 100. So instead, what we should be doing is looking at that website. If it is accessible, look at the employee resource groups they might have, because those employee resource groups, we have them in our current role, and I am our lead for the AMS Disability ERG. And ERG is just employee resource group, if anybody didn't know. And essentially, those groups are built within organizations, and they're there to create a community, to help people feel empowered, and to give a collective voice to those who have had barriers presented to them, and of course a safe space where we can kind of speak and discuss change. So I think when you're looking for an employer, go onto the website. What resource groups do they have? Do they feature disabled people in any of their content? Because if they're using, again, we've talked about this before, stockpile photos, and it's just generic photos of a disabled person in a wheelchair, is that really giving you an insight what it's like to work in that place? Is that an actual disabled person, or is this from online?
And it's always the same, because some companies use exactly the same stock images.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just thinking, so you put zero effort into stating that you want to support disabled people, because you haven't even, gone out and done the promos yourself. You've just literally bought this off of Getty Images. And it's just,
And one of the things I've heard people say in past employment, and I've heard employers say, we use these images because we don't have disabled people who work for us. Well, that can't be statistically true, because 1 in 5 people have a disability or long-term health condition. So what you're saying is you're disregarding a percentage of your business straight away. Okay, no worries, you don't have disabled people. You do. Yeah. And I think that we want to see representation in ourselves in employment. We're looking at your recruitment processes. We want to see in those recruitment drives, if you're using images, we want to see ourselves. It's the same of people maybe of ethnicity. They want to see themselves. You want to see that community that has that shared life experience of you, who you can rely on. And I think that when you're online and you see this stuff, if you see it, amazing, move to step 2. If none of that's there, ask the employees. LinkedIn exists. You can ask on there.
Yeah, that's what I did for Sainsbury's before I got this job with AMS. I worked with Sainsbury's coming out of homelessness. I just needed a job. And that's exactly what I did. I looked on the Sainsbury's website before I applied to make sure that they were disability confident, and that I knew that they were part of like several local charities to help disadvantaged people. So I thought, well, that's a step in the right direction. And then I saw the campaigns they've done where they actually feature disabled people in their adverts and campaigns. And I thought, okay, now obviously Sainsbury's, it's a shop, it's a massive company. They're not always going to look after you, but it's a good start. And I had a interview. I went in, and what was really positive for me was they didn't ask what my disability was, because obviously I turned up in a wheelchair. They said, how can we help you to make sure that you can perform your duties?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, excuse me, I have never had this before. And that's basically what I also based my model on, helping our clients in the recruitment sphere. That was the start of it. But it was things like that. And I don't know about you, but I also had interviews with companies that I couldn't find any information on about if they were inclusive, whether they wanted disabled people. And I turned up to the interview and they were like, oh, you have a disability, oh, you can't work here. And I was like, oh, fine, I don't want to work for this company, and I certainly won't be buying any of your products ever again. Thank you very much. But it is so difficult, isn't it, as a disabled person, because there is no one resource where you can go, oh, this company is, apart from looking at the Valuable 500, there really is no grand list of this company will support disabled people. And you've seen that in your journeys, haven't you, really?
Oh yeah, I've seen that with my blurred eyesight. So I've seen that, so I have 100%. And like, just before I kind of dive into mine, I think for our listeners who maybe aren't aware of the Valuable 500 or Disability Confident. So Disability Confident is a government-run scheme, can't even say the word, government-run scheme in the UK. And essentially that scheme is there to change the narrative for disabled people, to show employers that just because we are disabled doesn't mean we're not employable. We don't have those skills. So it's changing that attitude in society. And essentially there's 3 levels to it. You have, now I'm going to probably get this wrong, you have your disability confident, where you have signed on level 1. You have level 2, which is your committed, and then level 3, which is your disability confident employer. Now, with each of those, if you're a company within the UK, you get a fancy little logo that's on your email signature. So if you're speaking to that business, during, maybe an outreach where you've applied for a job and they're reaching out to you, look at the email. If they have that signature, that's a disability confident employer. So they're taking steps. And, I've helped complete some of those assessments in the past. And currently I'm helping with MSs. And, with that assessment, that's a pretty loaded assessment. So there's 2 sections to it, and you have to evidence and document, and it's a cross-company collaboration. So it really is a company looking at itself in the mirror and saying, what can we do better here? And being held accountable, because you can't get to level 3 without an actual audit. Yeah. And then on the other side of that, you have the Valuable 500. I am obsessed with the Valuable 500. You are too. I know. We never stop talking about it.
Oh, now, I just love them.
Like, the Valuable 500 is non-profit. It is an organization that has brought 500 companies together, so 500 CEOs, to put disability on the boardroom agenda. And essentially that is the highest up in the business you can go, having this conversation. And essentially it's a global movement. So 500 CEOs, I can't remember the number of employees, I think it's over 8. No, actually, it's going to be a lot more than 8,000, Jamie. Come on, 500 businesses, do the maths. So there's a lot of employees there, but essentially this lady, Caroline, who started this because she recognised that there's a stigma around disability, and we talk about the stigma too, and there really is. For an able-bodied person, if you're applying for a job, you don't have to think, can I read this? Will my screen reader pick this up? Will I be able to actually access this will I be able to access this application in alternative formats? So, if I was blind, do I need Braille? If I was using screen reader, will it be accessible? And essentially, she recognized this. There's a stigma, these barriers, and she wanted to change it. And essentially, if you haven't checked them out yet, please go check out the Valuable 500. This is a plug for them right now. We will stick a wee link for the resources we're talking about today. So Disability Confident Valuable 500. We'll stick them on our website so you can check them out. But sorry, I kind of did go into a tangent there. But look, for myself, as I said, I look at the website straight away. I'll speak to an employee if they have connections there. I'll ask friends. But For me, sometimes a lot of my friends aren't disabled, and it's because, again, in my past, I never really disclosed to friends how bad my actual eyesight was. So I couldn't really take the advice on from them. Like, they can tell me if it's a good place to work in the sense, is it going to be good crack, or is there going to be culture there? But they'll not be able to tell me about the inclusion side. So I ask about it as well. I will ask it. I will contact that recruitment coordinator or the sourcer, whoever it is you're speaking to at the business side, and I'll say, can you make adjustments? Are you able to accommodate me? And I haven't always did that. So, like, I've missed out on that. And it's only now in my 30s where I think I have to ask this, because in an interview, people already big themselves up, don't they? You know, oh, I've done this, I've done it 10 times that there, you know, I led this whole project. No, you were part of the team who developed the project, but we're going to say you developed it all, because it's an interview. You're bigging yourself up. You want to be the best you could be. But as a disabled person, I think we don't get that luxury at times during interviews to big ourselves up, because we already have this insecurity that's down the back of our mind. Am I going to get adjustments? Am I going to be able to do this job? And like, for myself, I have panic attacks, like proper, will freak out at night and all, shaking about this. And I was thinking, why do we use these systems? Because they're saying they're accessible, but I've been told many times in the past systems are accessible, if not been.
And it's not. And that's the thing, isn't it? And also, as a disabled person, you've not always even had the opportunity to even work. I mean, you could be literally in your 40s and never had the opportunity to work because no one's given it to you. How on earth do you go and ask someone to help you, or what a business is good? And that's where resources like Scope and the Shaw Trust come in. And they're really amazing as charities. And I've worked not 100% closely with Scope, but I have worked with Scope with another client of ours to help disabled people navigate recruitment. And it's charities like that that are trying their hardest to support people like us. And we will link all those charities down below. And Shaw Trust also are really good at supporting. But if you're just like Joe Blogs down the street with dyslexia and you don't think that you need the support of Scope and Shaw Trust, it is incredibly difficult to go to a company and go, look, this is what I need. Because the amount of times I've talked to candidates going, I didn't even know that you could have this, let alone what to ask. And that's where we really do need, as a country, like this central support system of, this is what you can ask, this is what you can't ask, this is what's acceptable for a company to do and not do. But it's like, how do you even begin to do that? It's a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's, even if you think about, you think about organizations out there, if I think about an organization for blind and visually impaired people like myself, the RNIB, but that's not the only organization within the UK or within the globe. There's so many organizations out here that, you have to Google, you have to have a Google at these. And, I know it's not always accessible having to go online. Get a friend to help you. Get somebody to assist you. Job centres, job coaches. There is organisations out there, even within the UK, the Citizens Advice. You can go in there and somebody will sit down and help you. They may not be disabled, trained or aware, but they will be able to point you at least in the place of somebody who can work with you, who is more aware and who knows what support you need and can help you get that support.
Yeah.
Because
it's just stepping over that threshold, isn't it? And going, okay, deep breath. I really want to work. I'm shitting myself.
Of course.
But I can do this. But then it's finding those resources, and we will link those resources in things that we put out. If you do not know where to look, we will help you. And please contact us. Please ask us where to look, because there might be a charity that we've forgotten to talk about in this podcast, or a link that we've forgotten to talk about, but we would know where to go to find it. And it's having that. And I think talking to undergraduates, which I did on Friday, even universities are not pointing them in the right direction of how to find work. And I'm thinking, this is the 21st century. Why aren't universities helping disabled people gain access to gainful employment?
What's going on there?
What is going on there? Where is the failing? Is it right at the top, or is it right at the bottom? Or
I think it's just scattered throughout society. There's failings everywhere. Like, it's not just trying to get a job. It's trying to see yourself in that role as well. And even when you get the job, you've got to be really supported, because let's be real, employers can say, we're going to do this A, B, C. You get into a job and they only do B and C. That's not going to be what you need. And it's almost that you want an employer who can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yes.
And essentially, you want them to back up what they're saying. You know, employers have awards. There's awards around DE&I. There's awards around inclusion. Another
Look
one,
for
if you're looking
those.
at employer, look for those awards.
Look for
If
those, yeah.
if a company has succeeded and is doing well within a certain space, they should be showing that off. Show them on your website. You know, we talked about the Business Disability Forum. The Business Disability Forum works within the UK, but they also have a global task force, which is companies that have a global presence. And essentially, they bring companies together to learn best practice. And then they're not the only organisation globally to do this. There's D&I leaders. There's loads of organisations that if you're a business that you can buy into and support, and they will provide you tools and resources and best practice from other businesses. So for an employer, there's no reason why you can't get educated in this. There's no reason why you can't be breaking these bars. And there's certainly by no means no reason why you can't go take a photo of an employee with an actual disability, with an actual adjustment, not just this one person in a wheelchair. Because
you're not going to let that lie, are you? You are not going to let that lie.
I just want to see a photo of me and my space stack, and like I have all my adjustments. I have my swinging arm computers. I have my raised up. I don't even know what you call it, but it looks like a space station. So
yeah,
I want to see somebody like me using adjustments who don't require a wheelchair, or a blind or visually impaired person who doesn't have to hold a key. And, you know, I'm not saying that these are stereotype images, because obviously these people do exist. But what I'm saying is we need more variety. We need more diversity. Don't just show one side of the coin.
And that's so huge as well, because it's like a thing, if you do not see yourself represented in TV or work, then you will not want to join that company, because you're thinking, oh, well, they don't want someone like me. It's not obvious to the non-disabled people. I've had people question this, going, oh, why is it so important to see yourself in the workspace? And I'm like, well, because how do I know that company wants me?
Yeah.
You know, you're represented as a middle-aged white man everywhere. You know, you're everywhere, but someone like me is not. Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously it's difficult to show dyslexia and autism in the workspace because it's an invisible disability. But it's also having, like, you know, a company could have like a video stating that this is what we do. These are a few of our employees who are in our workspace with disabilities. And, you know, companies should be doing that. They really should be videoing and like promoting their disability scheme. And that would really help you guys, you know, who want to go into the workspace and see which companies are doing the best. I don't know how I'm going to be able to make companies do that. Well, I really want to.
There's companies that do it, you know, because there is companies out here who are doing absolutely phenomenally in this space.
Yes.
You know, there really is. And I'm not going to sit and name them because I don't want to give free plugins. If you want us to plug them, you have to give us a theme song. But, you know, there is companies out here that do really incredible work within this space. And, you know, I've been onto the websites and I've seen videos, and not just of disability, of ethnicity, of different people with different religions being able to pray at work and being able to find that time for them and see themselves in that workplace. And I just think there's something special about that. You know, I'm coming into this place, I have a community, and, you know, if you're an employer and you have an employee resource group, utilize them. If you have a disabled candidate who has disclosed that they are disabled, or if you yourself have disclosed I'm disabled, you should have somebody from that employee resource group, the disability, the university one, whatever you call your employee resource group, have them reach out to you. Imagine having that connection. You know, you've not even got the job yet, or you've not even started the job yet, but you have somebody reaching out to you and saying, hi, we're really excited to get you in here. Look, we have this really great community. We'd love you to get involved. Here's my details. Reach out to me. You've already made a friend before you started that business, because that can be the difference between you succeed in your job and having that really strong ally from the get-go. That is your person you can say, I'm not getting my adjustments. If you're not comfortable saying to your manager, then they can act as somebody to go to your manager and say, look, such and such has disclosed this to me. I want to get these adjustments in place for me. Is there anything we can do? Like, there's so many organisations, there's so much support out there. And I think in the UK, we're a little bit, not that we're blessed, because obviously there's a lot of failures within the UK, but we're a little bit more fortunate with the organisations that we can get support from. Now, we'll not talk about how good and access and reliable a lot of these organisations are. But,
that's the problem, the accessing it. But it's knowing where to access them, because no one tells you. No one tells you at school. No one tells you at university. You just, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't know about access to work until I started working for our client.
No, I didn't know that either.
What? I've got this almost unlimited budget personal budget to buy the things that I need to be able to work. This has been around since I was a kid. So I've missed out of this for 20 years. I had no idea this was here. And I finally managed to get a wheelchair for it, a suitable wheelchair through Access to Work and various other things. And that's another thing, because there are people leaving employment who have just recently become disabled and have a job, are leaving employment because they don't know that Access to Work is there to help support them stay in their job. And that's criminal. That's absolutely criminal. So we are going to be linking Access to Work as well. And it's such an important resource to be able to help you, especially if people are coming through long COVID now and they need certain things to help them. That would be a great resource.
100%. Or if you're visually impaired or blind, they can get you a PA who sits beside you, will take your notes and will help you. And, you know, for myself, like this is within the UK, by the way, Access to Work. And again, it's another government scheme that an employer can utilise or an employee can utilise. They would contact them, they would help them get support, and they actually fund part of this here towards the employer. So it's not a pocket out expense of the employer, because let's be real, a lot of employers say, we don't want to do adjustments because of the cost, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no worries. But the employee who you're going to maybe take on for the next 20 years, is that not worth, again, say a couple, 2-3 grand there, as opposed to an employee who's going to be with you for 20-30 years? I know what I'm choosing. And I know that is a whole entire other episode, is Access to Work and what happens when you're actually in the job. But I think, again, what we're saying is, employers should be shouting about this. You know, if you have a program that you're doing, like, you know, if you are hiring neurodiverse talent, if you are doing a disability or diverse inclusive recruitment process, as I keep saying, then make sure it's actually easy for us to apply. Because it's all well and good saying we're going to do this great pilot and it's going to go really amazing. But if your business isn't actually changing down that recruitment process, making it easier, making there a point of contact for disabled people to contact right from the get-go, then this is all for nothing, because you're just talking the talk.
Yes.
Make it accessible.
Exactly. And then, you know, the people that are going into work can then see which companies that they want to work for. Because at the end of the day, companies are there to make money. We all know this. We're in a capitalist society. That's what companies are there to do. We're not in a communist society. It's not all for one for all. It is every man for himself, or every woman for himself, every mouse for themselves. And that's what I would say to anyone entering the job space who been, you know, long-term disabled or newly disabled. The companies that you really need to look out for are the ones that are not shouting the loudest about how inclusive they are, but shouting about how they are willing to change and accept that they have got failings and how they are changing to make themselves better. Because I've seen companies that are going, oh, we're all about inclusion, DE&I, but are completely forgetting that disability is part of that.
Yeah. It's all, I think that's what happens with businesses, isn't it? And I think that when you're in a business, you can see it yourself. There'll be times they focus on certain aspects of D&I, and they'll forget that, you know, disability comes into this. Or this year we're going to focus on LGBTQ. Or you know, I've seen businesses who go to market and say we're really great D&I. You know, we're really great ambassadors. We're so inclusive. And you go on their website, and the only thing they have about inclusivity is ethnicity. Where's the disability? Where's people who are LGBTQ? Where are these people? Because if you're only focused on that one, you're already eliminating half your talent pool. And a talent pool, by the way, is people who are on the market for those jobs. So that's your people that you may have available for those jobs. So I think as well, another thing that when you are, even when you're an employer or you're somebody reading a job description, if you're not getting that in an accessible format, you're ruling that out. And that's something that happens to me a lot. You know, in recruitment, we get in-mails. And I think I talked about this as one of my rants one week. And we get in-mails, and people usually use these in-mails as a way to try to headhunt you. So what I would say, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn.
Get on LinkedIn, it's a great resource.
It's a great resource. It's a professional Facebook. Let's be real. It's professional Facebook. People aren't on there writing the diary feelings. They're talking about their work and their achievements and work. And it's really nice because it's a nice, positive place, I find. It can be dark. The web's dark and full of terrors, but we'll not get into that. But, you know, get yourself on there, because people will reach out to you about jobs. And there's times when I've received in-mails and there've been people saying, oh, I've got this role, da-da-da-da-da. All well and good, but you're sending me a jobs back that's attached that I can't read. Make them accessible. Think about the people using screen readers. Like, I only learned the other day on Twitter, if you hashtag something, and I should know this because I use like dictation devices. If you hashtag something and don't put a capital, or do multiple hashtags and don't put a capital, it won't read it. And I was just like, oh my goodness, how many recruitment drives have I seen online with the hashtag things, and it's all tiny or it's really random letters. how are we seeing that? How is somebody who's visually impaired or blind seeing that, or somebody who's using a screen reader? How are they picking that up? Because you're already eliminating them. And the world statistics show that disabled people are twice as likely to be in employment as able-bodied people, and the reason for that is because we're not having these accessible recruitment drives. If you have neurodiverse talent, we've done pilots within AMS ourselves. And again, we're not plugging in AMS, we're just talking about what we've done because we have a long way to go in there. But we did this pilot. We brought in candidates who were autistic. And what we were actually able to do there is we changed the recruitment process. We give them screening questions before they came in. We give them the options of using 2 different formats, what way they can answer the questions. They could speak it or they could use the text. And again, that is just like outside the box ways of thinking. How can we approach this in a way that's going to be more accessible to this person or more in line with what they actually will find more supportive to them? So I kind of got tongue-tied there. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, and one of my clients that I was working with on Friday, they've completely got rid of a technical test. They completely got rid of it just for this award because I said, look, the people that you're targeting are not going to be able to do this. Yeah. They can't just pull things out of thin air. They're going to need time to prepare, and they're probably going to be anxious and overwhelmed, and it's not going to work. And the client went, yeah, okay, we'll pull it. We won't do it. And they also got rid of those stupid situational judgment tests. And I was like, oh, win. And those are the kind of companies that you need to look out for. Unfortunately, I cannot name this company, but you need to look at companies that are not doing situational judgment tests or any form of test, personality test. If you have a company that doesn't do that, then 100% that they're inclusive, because those tests are designed to filter out people, disabled people. Okay, that's a warning. If a company is doing a situational judgment test, they do not want you to work for them.
100%. And I'm going to say, yes, I 100% back that up, because those tests, even myself, especially when they're timed, write a time test as well. They give you tests and then time them. If you're visually impaired like myself, it takes me nearly twice as long as somebody maybe reading 3 or 4 questions to even get through that first question before I look at the answers. And it really annoys me. I've done assessments in the past when I've worked within certain companies where I've had to do assessments to get promoted and stuff, or even to come into the role, and I've automatically lost it and failed because my score ends up being less than 20%. And I sit there and think, I'm disabled. I've told you I'm disabled. And still you're not given no kind of a time, extra time, things like that. And even at that, the extra time's not going to make a difference, because what's 20 seconds going to do when 20 seconds is still me reading that first question?
Yes, exactly. And, the whole extra time thing, I mean, I have had to do it for certain clients because they will not abolish timed assessments. But luckily, quite a lot of my new clients have decided to abolish timed assessments because they realise that it is so discriminatory. And that's what I'm saying to the new guys that are coming out of school, coming out of university, coming out of college. College will have timed assessments. Universities will have timed assessments. If a company is doing timed assessments, they 100% do not want you, okay, as a disabled person. And I know that's hard to hear, but you have to pick a company that is right for you, because there's no point pushing yourself to go to a company if they're not willing to support you as a disabled person.
And if you can ask about the recruitment process, ask outright. Don't be.
You need to ask. Yes.
And I think as disabled people see us as angry. Oh, they're so angry, or they're entitled. Oh, they're so entitled because you're disabled. Why does that make? No, we're not. We're having to constantly speak up because we have to. Barriers presented us in society. You walk down the road, there's things blocking the footpath. Wheelchair users. There is even for myself having to walk on a road. Like, why are you putting a blind man walking on the road to walk around something? That does not sound right in my head. I even watched a video yesterday of a guy or a guide dog who had to walk around something. And that's just in our everyday lives. But then when you come into the workplace and you have more barriers presenting yourselves, what's the point? What's the point? Just ask the person. Ask the recruitment. And if they tell you it's going to be assessments and stuff, fine, no worries. If you feel comfortable to do so. Now, you don't have to disclose your disability. Nobody is telling you need to do that, because some employers will have a really accessible recruitment process. There's companies out there who have made sure the recruitment processes are accessible, where it's literally 2 chats. You have 2 chats with a team.
Yeah.
On that chat, you can use your text, you can whatever it is more comfortable for you. You're through. Then they will start to talk to you a little bit more. What adjustments do you need? Some employers do an interview to offer scheme, which is again part of the disability confidence scheme, which means if you're a disabled person and you meet the minimum criteria for a job, so you're automatically given an interview. So you don't have to go through that screening and weed it out stage. And again, where do you go looking for this? Because Fuchsia, where do you go looking for this? Because it's all good us talking about this, but where do we send people to look for this?
So the Shaw Trust have a list of companies that they work with and support that are disability confident. So does Scope. But apart from that, there really isn't a list. There really isn't a list. And that is so shocking. And it really really boils my beans. That's what I want to say. And I don't have time or the resources to go through every company in the UK and find out who is disability confident or not. This should be a government. This should literally be a government-run thing. But there are companies out there, and it is reaching out to companies like Scope and Shaw Trust and the Citizens Advice Bureau to ask. And even though that's still not 100%, and it's going to be, I believe, a work in progress for many years, and it's infuriating and it's frustrating. But hopefully throughout this podcast, we can share more and more hints and tips and more of experiences, and then you can start to build up your own database of who to go to, where to go to, who to talk to. I mean, that's why we started it, right? That's why we started this podcast, to have this resource, because there is nothing out there.
No. And I know there's probably companies out there who probably have created their own kind of form of list, but it's probably companies who may be specific to a certain area within the disability spectrum, and they are choosing that one area, and they know all these great contacts in that same area. But I think for us as well, our website, we have a resources section on there. Yeah. We haven't used it yet, and if anyone's been on our website, probably does think, oh, what is this sitting here for? That's because we wanted to start having these conversations today. You know, we opened up ourselves to you. You kind of know who we are. You both know we're Star Wars mad now. You know we like to get into a bit of a rant when we have to, but we also want to make sure there's support and there's tools out there that you can use yourself if you're a disabled person, or if you're an employer who isn't aware of this, that you know that's out there, because it's a minefield. And, you know, if you think about just one person with disability, like myself, or visual impairment, how am I navigating a minefield? Who is going to support me doing that? And yes, in the UK, we have like the job centres and job coaches, but they aren't always the most clued in person. Sometimes it takes a person with a disability or that lived experience or that not acknowledgement of how that is as a disabled person to really kind of stop and say, wait a second, I really want to support this person. Because I've had people in job centres when I said I've been unemployed who completely fobbed me off. Or do you remember when you were employed? In the UK, we have these little job books you have to sign in if you're employed. You have to fill it in. It was
job books.
Tiny. Like, honestly, I get angry when I think about it. And I can remember telling the guy in the job centre at the time, I can't actually see what's in this box and I'm struggling. Yeah. And he says, oh, well, if you have to, just get somebody else to write it for you. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
That's not the point. The point is,
and the thing is, you had to apply for 5 jobs a day to be able to get signed on. And I'm like, but half of these jobs I can't do because I can't read or write. And they're like, oh, we'll still apply for them. And I'm like, but what's the point? I can't read or write, and you're asking me to go for a clerical position? What is wrong with you?
It's insane. And, like, you know, we would kind of say, where do you go to fix this, or what organizations are out there? If you're diagnosed with your disability and you know what your disability is, do a quick search on it. If you don't want to do a search yourself, reach out to us. Maybe we can put, well, I was going to say maybe we should put, we already have a section where you can email us on our website. If you don't want to do this searching yourself, we are happy to support you, or we are happy to post onto our social platforms to find somebody who can support you, because we are a community. You know, we are a community of different disability. We're diverse. We all have different personalities, but we all have the same barriers presented to us in recruitment, when we're retaining, when we're gaining, and even having those conversations. Let's break down those barriers. Let's kick them down together. I will scream and scream and scream in a Northern Irish accent for someone to stop and listen. And Future will do the same in her English accent. We will scream the place down for you if we have to get you your support.
Yeah, I even said that to a candidate yesterday. I was like, I want disabled people to take over the world. boring middle-aged white old men have had enough and they've messed up the world enough. It's time for disabled people to take over, because clearly we know what's going down and we have an idea of how to make the whole world inclusive. It's our turn.
I mean, we're told we're already inspirational and we're all superheroes anyway. So, let's be the inspirational superheroes that the world needs to break these down barriers.
Inspirational. Oh, how inspirational could
You've come. You've applied for this job. You're such an inspiration. We're going to give you a test now. It's going to limit you and make you not be able to perform as well as everybody else. Sorry about that, guys.
You're such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration. But we're not going to give you a job because you can't pass any of the time tests that we put in place. But you're such an inspiration. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we're being too sarcastic now.
We are. This is what happened. It's a Saturday afternoon. We are passionate, and this is only one side of this. This is a conversation that we'll have over numerous episodes,
yes.
And we've been speaking to people who want to come on the show as guests, and I'm so excited by some of the people we've been speaking to and engaging with, because we have a lady at the moment we're engaging with, and she actually wrote an article about being neurodiverse, I believe, on LinkedIn, and this article blew up because she basically called out companies that we're kind of doing today and saying, yeah, you're talking this talk, but you're not walking this walk.
Yeah.
So, and people like that, we're going to get people like that on the show experiences, or if you're somebody listening and you think, I have this really great program, or I have this really great idea that could change like where we recruit disabled people, or why would nobody listen to my story? We'll give you that platform. We will give you that platform to share your story, because this is only our experience. We're only two people who work within recruitment. This is only our point of view, but we just want to create that community where you have support, and where we didn't have, because I didn't have the support or anywhere I could reach out to really when I was younger. Did you, Fuchsia?
No, I really wish I had me when I was coming into the workforce, because then maybe I wouldn't have wasted 20 years of my working life.
This is it. I'm 32 now. Am I 32? When was I born? 1990. So I am coming 32 in June. Imagine not even knowing your own age. So I'm 32. My career only began when I was in my 30s, and it was because my current employer. I didn't have that confidence, and before, when I didn't tell people about my disability, it was almost that there was no kind of societal shift towards inclusion. There was none of that when I was younger, whereas I can see it happening now. And I kind of makes you like an old person to say I can see this happening over time, but you really can. I'm sure you can see the same. Slowly by slowly, the layers are being stripped back. Is there ever going to be a happy ending to inclusion and with disability inclusion? No, because there is no happy ending when it comes to inclusion, because we can always get better. What we just need is employers to start thinking about the way they recruit. And disabled people, when you're applying for these roles, don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Be brave, be passionate, because at the end of the day, the only person who has your back is yourself. And of course, your friends and allies around you. But in a business, you need to be vocal. You need to come in and you need to ask these questions. If you need adjustments, ask them, will they provide them to you? Because if you don't, you're going to struggle, and that's not fair for you to have to job hop. We've been through it. We don't want nobody else to have to go through that.
No, we want people to have careers. I mean, I got so tired of job hopping. I really, really did. All I wanted was to be able to earn enough money to buy my own place and support myself and be comfortable. And I finally got that at 35. And that's what I want for everyone else.
And that's that. Like, I'm Fuchsia, you did a post today on Twitter, and if anyone has Fuchsia on Twitter, she celebrated herself having her own house. And for me, I seen that and I was just like, wow, that is such an achievement. For anybody to buy a house is an achievement. Oh my God, look at the market.
Yes.
Sure, anyone buying a house, well done to you. But for somebody, for me, who has a disability, who has struggled with employment, who struggled for that career, like, it's a massive hope, but it gives a ray of hope to others, because if one of us can do it, we can all do it, and we have the support in our community to do this. And we'll help you find those organisations.
We will.
So I know we've kind of ranted on here towards the end, and apologies. Sometimes you need a good old rant on a Saturday.
You do.
So just to wrap up then, keep an eye on our website. We are going to update the resources, so you can have a look at some of these organisations we have discussed today. If you are an employer and you want to talk to us about maybe our own experiences, email us. If you're somebody needing support, going for roles, looking for roles, or don't know where to start that journey, reach out to us, or have a Google yourself if you're comfortable to do so. Now, just before we kind of wrap up for the week, we have decided not to do a rant of the week. And I think with what's going on in the world at the moment, there is enough anger, there's enough upset. And I think what we'd like to do today is just take a moment to say that our hearts are with the people of Ukraine. I've actually have goosebumps even saying this right now, and it's such a horrible, dark day for history. You know, we talk about inclusion and we talk about diversity, and we're all people. We're all people of this planet. We're humans on this planet, and to see this happening, my heart breaks for everybody, and especially those with disability who maybe aren't able to run or aren't able to get away. The fear for them must be, I can't even contemplate it.
Yeah, we stand with the disabled community in Ukraine, and our hearts go out to you, and know that you're loved. And we can't do anything to fight for you, but we will make sure that the world knows what's going on. I think the world already knows what's going on now. It broke this morning, didn't it? Properly, but we wish peace to happen yesterday.
You're all with you. The whole world is watching and with you. And sorry to end on a bit more for a lower note than what we have been, but I think that wherever you are in this world, if you've not taken a second to stop or a minute to stop and think about what's going on, you need to shake your head, because we are still part of this planet. We're one human race.
We are.
So I think for now then, look, please do like, follow, review our podcast on whatever platform you're watching. Apple, Spotify, Podchaser, Goodprod, Podbean. There's so many. And if you want to get in contact, please email at info@thatthingcalledinclusion. That's info@thatthingcalledinclusion. And Fuchsia, what is our Twitter, Insta, and Facebook handle?
So it's @thatinclusion. Very simple.
Straight to the point. Well, like, from me, good night, goodbye.
And take care of yourselves and know that you're loved.
You are.
Bye.
Bye.